They said he was too aggressive, too raw, too unpredictable. But for a brief moment in Formula One, one driver terrified the grid not because he was reckless, but because he was fearless. He arrived from America already a champion, already a winner of the Indianapolis 500, and within weeks he was fighting the greatest drivers in the world as if he had always belonged there. Some called him the fastest natural talent of his generation. Others believed he should have been a world champion. Yet somehow, just a few years later, he was gone. This is the rise and the sudden fall of Juan Pablo Montoya. Montoya's story starts far from the usual motor racing map. He left home young, climbed the European ladder, and won the 1998 title, his ticket into the sport's inner circles. And then came America and a shockwave. In 1999, he landed in with and didn't behave like a rookie. He won 7 times and the championship came down to the last race. Points tied, decided by tiebreaker. A year later, he walked into the like it was another Sunday. He led 167 of 200 laps and won as a rookie, the first rookie winner since 1966. Team owner came over the radio. "You're world famous now." Montoya stayed almost calm. The car was perfect. There was no need to risk anything. That early rise wasn't just results. It was the way he carried them, like fear was optional. When Formula One finally got him, it felt like a transfer of energy an American storm dropped into a European cathedral. In 2001, he joined and immediately did the one thing rookies are not supposed to do. He challenged the king. At Interlagos, he threw his car down the inside and muscled past in a moment that made the grandstands explode. No reverence, no apology, just the message: "I'm here." He led that race by half a minute, until a lapped car turned the story cruel. Clipped the Williams and ended the dream of a fairy tale first win. Verstappen later said the braking was early and he couldn't avoid the leader. For Montoya, it was the first lesson in Formula One's harshest rule: being fast is not always enough. But the win did come. At Yassian, he converted pole into victory at the 2001 Italian Grand Prix. By season's end, he'd finished 6th in the standings, already carrying the aura of a future champion. And the poles kept coming. 13 in a career of just 94 starts. In 2002 alone, he took 7 pole positions, the kind of number that doesn't happen by accident. The early 2000s were an era of giants. At full force, Schumacher at his most relentless. And yet, in the middle of that red dominance, Montoya became the driver who could disrupt the script. In 2002, he finished 3rd in the World Championship. In 2003, he did it again, only this time. It wasn't best of the rest. Going into the final 2 races of 2003, he was only 3 points off the championship lead in a 3-way fight with Schumacher, and he won at Hockenheim. A world title felt close enough to touch. But title fights don't care about what you deserve. They care about what you survive. At the season finale, Montoya's championship hopes ended after a collision with one moment, one broken rhythm, and the year didn't forgive him. Schumacher took the title. Now Montoya was left with what if? This is where his legend begins to harden. A driver with the pace to win everything and the temperament to make enemies doing it. Motorsport writers would later say his raw speed and personality gave Formula One a shock to the system. Montoya's gift, and sometimes his problem, was that he refused to drive with reverence. Every gap was an invitation. Fans loved the honesty of that. Teams built on control sometimes didn't. Even 2004, when Ferrari's dominance returned and Montoya slipped to 5th overall, ended with a reminder of what he could do. At the season finale, he won again, signing off his Williams era with a victory that felt like both celebration and goodbye. And by late 2003, the next chapter was already written. McLaren had signed him for 2005, while he was still fighting for a championship at Williams. When Montoya arrived at McLaren in 2005, expectations were nuclear. The teammate Raikkonen was already established as the quiet assassin, and hovering over it all was the discipline of... But the year began with something almost absurd. A tennis injury. A hairline shoulder fracture forced him to miss an early interruption that turned momentum into doubt. He wasn't just racing rivals, he was racing adaptation. New engineers, new expectations. A new kind of pressure because at McLaren, fast wasn't enough. You had to be flawless on command. When he came back, 2005 was a grind. So he even lost a huge result in Canada after being disqualified for leaving the pit lane under a red light during a safety car period, a split-second decision that turned into an instant black flag. And then, mid-summer, the switch flipped. At Geiss, he won. Then he won at Monza. Then he took the season finale to finish the year strong, ending 2005 fourth in the standings with 60 points. For a stretch, McLaren finally looked like the place where Montoya could become what so many believed he should be. The 2006 season proved how fragile momentum really is. Montoya had big days, third at EIG, and then a second-place finish at the sport's most famous street race, proof he still had world-class pace. But the results were uneven, and the pressure kept climbing. Then came the turning point, the at Indianapolis. On lap 1, he triggered a multi-car pileup and hit Raikkonen. The incident became a symbol of everything critics said about him. Lightning fast, but sometimes too combustible for the careful world he was living in. 1 week later, July 9th, 2006, news broke that he would leave Formula One at the end of the season to drive in, reuniting with Ganassi. For Formula One fans, it was whiplash, a rare talent choosing to walk away from the most prestigious grid in the world. And then it got even stranger. By July 11th, McLaren said they had reached a mutual agreement for Montoya to step down immediately, would replace him. The Formula One career, 6 seasons, split between Williams and McLaren, ended after just 10 races of 2006. For a driver who lived at full volume, it was an unusually quiet ending, in legacy and impact. Montoya's Formula One record is both brilliant and frustrating. 7 Grand Prix wins, 13 poles, 30 podiums. Numbers that suggest a champion's resume, especially in an era dominated by Schumacher and Ferrari. He's remembered less for perfection and more for presence. For Interlagos 2001, when a rookie made the reigning champion look mortal. For 2003, when he stood 3 points off the lead with 2 races left, and proved that a world title wasn't beyond him. So why didn't it happen? Some of it was circumstance. Reliability swings, championship math, and 1,000 small moments where luck and timing mattered. Some of it was him, the bravery that won fans also occasionally cost him points. And some of it is just Formula One, where the best driver does not always win the best war. Montoya didn't fade away. He changed worlds. Maybe that's the most Montoya ending possible, refusing to become a footnote, even if it meant leaving the chapter unfinished. Leaving Formula One didn't end his story. It proved his point. In 2007, almost as soon as he landed back in American racing, he won another headline that reminded everyone he wasn't an F1 driver who left. He was a racer who could win anywhere. Years later, he even returned to the Indianapolis 500 and won it again in 2015, a full-circle moment that made his rise feel permanent, even if his F1 chapter wasn't. If you could rewrite one moment in his Formula One story, one overtake, one crash, one contract decision, what would you change? And do you think Juan Pablo Montoya would have become a world champion if he'd stayed?